Hey, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Just a reminder, every other week you get a 5Q tape breakdown. The advisor does a superb job of handling a situation where the client didn't know the answer. Follow his lead and see if you can do as well as him next time. So, guys, when they don't know the answer, what are we supposed to do? When they don't know the answer, what are we supposed to do? If they don't know the answer to a question we ask them, whose fault is it? Ours. So we need to fall on the knife and apologize for the fact that they don't understand it, and then explain to them why that was a silly thing for us to ask in the first place, and then we ask an even simpler question. Or make sense? So this is an advisor doing a great job of it. It'd be a great lesson for you to listen to. So does everybody think the worst is over with the market? Nothing but smooth sailing. I've seen a ton of articles now talking about, well, here's how the market performs after a bear market. Here's how the market performs after a bear market. Here's how the market performs after a bear market. So what are all of the articles insinuating? That the bear market is now what? Over. Is it over? Maybe. Does anybody have a clue? But after almost 16 years of unbridled expansion, do you think the market is only going to have, are we getting back to reversion to mean by only having barely a 20% correction in the market? Is that anywhere close to reversion to mean after 15, 16 years of unbridled expansion in the market? Have we removed all the dry tinder from the forest floor? So there can have, there's no more dry tinder. So there's nothing that could cause a market problem because all the dry tinder has been removed. What did we find out with and I've taught, have you guys, how many of you remember me talking about this over the last 10 years about the guy out in California who took a pot shot at a transformer and nearly blacked out? They were this close to blacking out the entire western United States. And then we had here just lately somebody actually trying. That guy was just a dumbass hunter who was taking pot shots to see what could happen. This was what? A pot shot, or does it sound more and more like it was it was targeted? So could this, if there was 2 or 3 of these on the same day, what would that do to the marketplace? And could that happen, guys? Could that happen? If that happened, what could happen to the marketplace, the stock market? Also, how many of you are familiar with this? There's $65 trillion in debt that you can't find that'll get you. $65 trillion in debt you can't find. What does this start to sound like, guys? Right now, there's $65 trillion. What does this start to sound like? Yeah, 2008, exactly. $65 trillion is not a big number. It's a huge, barely incomprehensible number. It's more than 2.5 times the size of the entire U.S. Treasury market. It's 14% of the value of all financial assets globally. And so it's a value of, and what it is, it's a value of hidden dollars, hidden dollar debt, unrecorded on balance sheets of non-U.S. banks and shadow banks as of June of this year. So this is debt that's recorded or not recorded? Not recorded. What's the problem with that? The fact that most of this hidden debt is owed to banks is another reminder of the ever-growing and opaque interconnections between the traditional financial system, the shadow banking sector. A whole set of recent mini-crises has shown that these links are part of why the central banks keep being forced to step in and stabilize the government bond markets and other assets when stress levels arise. The trouble comes when dollars become difficult to source, especially as borrowers often use short-term swaps to buy long-term assets. Examples of such moments are the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 or the peak of 2008-2009 financial crisis. Years of ultra-low interest rates and investors' aggressive hunt for returns have driven leverage higher. Again, what does this sound like, guys? Ultra-low interest rates and investors' aggressive hunt for returns have driven leverage higher. What does that sound like? What period of time does that sound like? That's right, Nick, 2008, all over again. It's not, and this time it's not real estate, it's what? something different. It's always something different, but it's the same thing, only different. And the growth in the FX swaps and forward liabilities is one mammoth example of that. Rising rates and volatile asset prices make it. And so guys, when this happens, it gives how much room for a tiny little thing to blow everything up. So give me some other examples of black swans that are out there right now. What are some other examples of black swans out there right now? Come on, have a little imagination. What other things could happen that could blow up the market? Well, that's correct. Nick says, well, we don't even know what the potential black swans are. You're right. Ukraine is one? Yeah, because that could get what? How about China? Anything happening with China? Anything happening with Taiwan? I mean, Saudi, China, we could go on and on and on. U.S. Civil War, we don't know, right? So, and when we have all this tinder, you've heard me talk about the shed in the back with a bunch of 50-year-old newspapers and dried oily rags and a gas can. Does that mean that the shed is going to go up? No, but how much does it take for the shed to go up? Just one what? Spark. And I guess the reason I'm making this point is, again, I'm just seeing so many articles out there, which is what the public is seeing, that the bear market is over. The bear market's over when what? When nobody wants to be in. Have we gotten anywhere to the point where people are like, oh, I'm never going to touch the stock market again? Hell, in 2008, be honest, guys, I've been investing since 1980. But when 2008 hit, guess what? I was thinking, I don't even freaking want to be in the market anymore. I mean, when your money market goes away, when your money market that you thought was safe, all of a sudden they tell you, well, that wasn't guaranteed. You may lose the hundreds of thousands of dollars you have in your money market. That's enough to freak you out, right? That's when we hit the bottom, when nobody else wants to be in. Have we got anywhere close to people thinking, hell, I don't even want to be in the market right now? Not even close. Make sense? Okay, so the rest of the call here, we're going to have some fun with a little quiz. So, we're kind of getting the holiday season, people kind of checking out a little bit of intellectual wise, but I thought we'd have some fun with a quiz to see how well we understand the 5Q system. So we'll just go through this, figuring out what are the right answers to these things. So let's see how much we know about the 5Q system. So what do you do when you have a prospect that talks too much? Do you A, slap them, B, interrupt them and tell them what a wonderful person they are, C, make duck quacking noises, motions with your hands, or tell them that that's nice, but we're on a schedule here? Which one do we think we should do? Boy, I'm getting a lot of right answers, getting some wrong answers. Okay, well, first of all, can we agree? Does this happen where we get clients that want to get off on tangents and all over the place, and we're like, holy crap, we need to get back on track here? Yeah, it happens, right? So the correct answer is actually B. So if they're going on and on and on, does anybody know how many minutes I let them go on the first time? When they first go on and on and on, yeah, it's 2 to 3 minutes. 2 to 3 minutes, I let them talk because they need to get that out of their system, right? And then I look for any possible break where they take a breath, and then I jump in and tell them, to get really on their side about whatever they're saying, and then I say, oh, and by the way, that reminds me. And does it really, or, oh, shoot, that reminds me of this, or, oh, shoot, that brings up, and I get right back in where I want to get on. And the funny thing is, if you let them talk 2 or 3 minutes, and then you get on their side of whatever they said about it, what a genius thing that is, or how funny that is, or that's totally whatever. Get on their side and excited about what they said, and then quickly switch to, oh, by the way, that reminds me. Do they really care if it's by the way or not, or if it really is related to what they're talking about or not? No, they don't. Because you've listened to it for 2 or 3 minutes. We've scratched that itch that they had for talking, and then we say, by the way, And we go on, and we don't just say, by the way, we tell them how smart they are or how funny they are or how interesting they are. And they say, by the way, that reminds me, and we get right back on track. And they're totally cool with it. We've been doing this for 25 years, and I've never heard anybody but be cool with it. Now, they may get off track again. And then if we've given them 2 or 3 minutes the first time to talk, guess what we do the second time? Give them 2 or 3 minutes or give them 1 or 2 minutes? Yeah. And then we do the same thing, interrupt them. And when I say interrupt them, we don't interrupt them. We wait for them to take a breath. We wait for them to take a breath, and then we jump in and tell them how brilliant they are, smart they are, interesting they are, and then say, by the way, that brings up that brings up what we're just talking about. And then you get right back to what they're talking about, and they are totally okay with it. Does that make sense? Now, when setting the tone of your voice should be deep and manly, high like little girls, matter of fact, or perky. Now, remember, we're setting the tone. So what do they want? Do we want them to be, I'll give you a hint here. Do we want them to be afraid or not afraid at this? Do we want to raise their resistance level or lower their resistance level? If we want to lower their resistance level, very good, Bonnie. Bonnie's got it. Which one do we want to do? If we want to lower their resistance level, which one do we want to do? See, matter of fact, maybe like an attorney or a doctor, right? That's not going to hurt you. Matter of fact, C is not going to hurt you, but it's not going to help you. Deep and manly will hurt you because that makes you sound like you're an authority. So yeah, a lot of people are getting it's D. You sound perky. You sound perky. You're happy they're there, And mind if I share with you what happens next hour or so? Now, I guess my voice is a little bit higher there, but not like a little girl. But it's a little bit higher, less threatening. But I'm doing the perky because then it sounds enthusiastic, and I'm saying, hey, do you mind if I share? Hey, do you mind if I let you know how we get paid? Half the people end up working one way or another. But, it depends on how much they pay us. It would depend on how much we do for them and what we do for them. We do a lot. We get paid, a good amount. If we do very little, we're going to get paid very little, but it depends on what we do for them, and they can pay us any number of ways. But, half the people, just like you're seeing here today, they won't pay us at all. We'll be able to give them the information, and they'll be able to just go home and do it themselves. See how you're doing it perky? Does that sound like I'm being threatening? Have I given them an out? Does it sound like I'm see, that's what we're trying to do there. Does it make sense? When working with a do-it-yourselfer, you should always, A, make sure they know that you're smarter than they are. B, point out all the mistakes they've made. C, compliment them on their investment expertise. D, tell them stories about all the do-it-yourselfers you know and what ended up in the poorhouse. You guys are so smart. 100% are getting this right, which is C, compliment them on their investment expertise. Guess what I did when I was making $50,000 a year? Everything but C. I made sure they know I was smarter than them. I made sure I pointed out all the mistakes they're making, and I let them know a whole bunch of horror stories about do-it-yourselfers. That's what I did when I was making $50,000. When I created the 5Q system and motivational interviewing, this is what I started to do. So yeah, let's see. Everybody got it. Congrats, guys. Everybody, 100% of you guys got that one right. When asked how you're compensated, you should say, I hope you didn't bring your wallet because this is a free and no obligation meeting. Or do you say, you never have to pay me, the company does? Or C, we're going to cover that later. What we're doing today is right now is free. Or D, any number of ways, for example. You guys are, almost everybody's getting it. Yes. So the correct answer is any, and I just did it. I did the role play for you, right? Where I said, so, and a lot of people want to know how we're paid. So half the people, they'll end up with working with us one shape, form, or manner. And depending on what we do for them will depend how they're paid. If we do a lot, it'll be, they'll pay us a little bit more. If we do very little for them, we're going to get paid very little, but it really depends. But about half the people, just like you're sitting here today, they're able to take this information, go home with it, and actually do it themselves. So D is the right answer. Can be paid in any number of ways. Now, guys, can you be paid by fee? Even if you're insurance only, can you be paid by fee? Can you opt for a trailer on many products? Can you be paid by commission? Can you do things pro bono? So is it true when we say we can be paid any number of ways? Is it also true that depending on how much work we do for them, we're paid more? If we do very little work, we're going to do very little, get paid little. If we do a lot of work, we're going to get paid a lot. Is that true? Yeah. So what you don't want to do is say, hope you didn't bring your wallet. As soon as somebody tells you, I hope you didn't bring your wallet, guess what you're worried about? Now, I know what I'm worried about. When they say, I hope you didn't bring your wallet, guess what I'm worried about? My wallet. When you say, you never have to pay me, the company does, what do you think about that? This is stupid. This is the way many people are taught to sell annuities. You never have to pay me, the company does. What do they think when you say that? Isn't that how many people are taught to sell annuities? I hear it all the time. Oh, you don't have to pay me, the company does. That's bullshit. When I hear that, what do I think? Oh, so you're going to send me to the company who's going to pay you the most. I get it. They know you get paid. They know do they think the company, do they trust insurance companies? Does anybody trust insurance companies? So when you tell them, hey, don't worry, the insurance companies you don't trust will pay me, so you don't have to pay me, they think, of course the company will pay you, because guess how much the company's charging us? Little or an exorbitant amount. Yeah, Nick said it, hidden fees. Now, or what do you say? Hey, we're going to cover that later. What we're doing right now is free. What are they thinking when you do that? Do they hear anything else that you say going forward, or what's constantly in the back of their head? He didn't want to tell me how much he's paid. Anytime you go to a restaurant where they don't put the prices on the menu, what do you know? The prices are high. So you say, hey, don't worry, this is all free. We'll cover that later. Guess what they think about your price tag? It's too what? Low or too high? Too high. So that's why we do it any number of ways. Half the people will work with us, and they can pay us any number of ways, and how much they pay depends on how much we do for them. If we do a lot, it'll be more. If we do a little, it'll be less. But half the people, just like you're sitting here today, they can actually take this information, go home. And remember why I do it. The second one is half. They remember the last thing you say. Do I want them to, this isn't on the quiz, but do I want them to believe they're the half that are going to pay me, or the half that they're going to be able to give them information, they're going to go home and do it themselves? Which one's pay or not pay? Yeah, don't pay. I want them to believe that, because we're really in the first 2 minutes of the meeting. I want them to believe that they're going to be able to go home and do it themselves. They're not going to pay me, so that they can relax and just listen to what I'm talking about. So the loyalty versus unconditional love, many of you have only heard this one time here a few weeks ago. So don't expect anybody or a large amount of people to get this right, but it's a great review. The loyalty versus unconditional love script is used to, remember, that's where I say, so, is there any, the relationships are two ways. If you're loyal to me, I'm loyal to you. It works that way with our friends. It works that way with our spouse. What's the only entity that we have unconditional love for? Our kids. They can screw us. They can be disloyal to us. But in the end, we still what? We still love them. So I guess the question I have for you with your advisor is, are you loyal to your advisor, or do you unconditionally love them? So what are we trying to do there? Are we trying to bring your spouse into line? Are we trying to scare the bejesus out of your teenage son? Show the prospects that their loyalty is a two-way street, or allow the prospect to discover themselves that loyalty is the two-way street? D, yes. Let them discover for themselves that loyalty, they should only be loyal to their advisor if their advisor is loyal to them and they do not unconditionally love them. If they find the guy screwing them, they're going to what? They find out the guy's screwing them, they're going to what? They're going to leave. Yeah. So Tom, you said C. Look at C. Show the prospect that loyalty is a two-way street, or allow the prospect to discover for themselves that loyalty is a two-way street. So Tom, what's the right one? We have lots of Toms on the call, so there you go. Tom got it right. Good. See, so they have to. If I say it, it's what? I've got an agenda. If they say it, it's true. When asked what IRS Section 42 is, you should answer, because we use IRS Section 42 for how they can be in the 1% tax bracket. How can they be in the 1% tax bracket for the non-qualified investment income? Well, with IRS Section 42. So why do we answer IRS Section 42? The information is readily available at our local library. It explains how it works, and that is a shame that brokers don't share it with your clients. You get excited about how great a question it is, or you tell them that you have to keep things general and answer specific questions. So which one? When they ask, what is IR Section 42? You do A, B, C, or D. Man, you guys are on fire. It is C. We get excited. See, when they ask about IR Section 42, and this is something I haven't talked about in probably a couple of years. When somebody asks me a question that I don't really want to answer, do I ever want to say, hey, that's a great question, we'll get to it later? No. That means, see, if you do not answer their question, what happens to your trust level? I don't care how cleverly you do it. What happens to their trust level? It falls, goes down. So I don't want to do that. So instead, I get excited about the question. Oh, IR Section 42, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what most people that come to see me, that's what they want to talk about. And I tell you what, when I sit down and show this to people, they love it. They start referring their friends to me. I mean, it's like a tidal wave of people wanting to come in and talk. So I'm glad that you're interested in that. That was really the thing I was hoping you would talk about, because that is the thing that I give the biggest bang for the buck. That's how I get most of my clients. So the fact that you want to talk about that means the fact that you're going to be super happy when you become a client, and you're going to get all sorts of referrals. So at this point, what are they thinking about that question? They're glad they asked it, or they didn't? They wish they'd never asked it. So I'm getting some people saying glad, some people saying never. What did I just say when I got on there, when I was getting excited? What did it sound like I expected them to become? Does anybody want to become a client when they're simply asking a question? No. So now, are they happy they asked the question, or are they saying, I wish I'd never asked that question because this bozo thinks I'm going to become a client? Now I'm going to have to tell him no. Now I'm going to have to get defensive. Now I'm going to have to tell him the reasons we can't move forward today. See, when I get excited about the question and start inferring that the fact that they asked that question, and they're going to be so excited when I give them the solution, and they're going to start referring people to me, and they're going to be so happy when they become a client, they start to think what? They're glad they asked this question, or wish they'd never brought it up? They wish they'd never brought it up. So then when I switch over to, oh, shoot, I forgot, that reminds me of something. Are they happy that I'm off the topic? Or are they sad that I get off the topic? Sigh of relief, right. They're happy I got off the topic. So that's how you can get people to move on and be happy that I moved on from answering the question. Now, the other thing you can do is if you tell them at the beginning that if you'd like to keep, remember, when we're talking about the more advanced way to do a first meeting, you can also throw in there at the beginning, say, so I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. We want to make sure you get to those. Of course, not everybody, is everybody the same, or is everybody a little bit different? Or is it different? Do they have the same income? Do they have the same debt? Do they have the same Social Security income check coming in? Do they have, or is everybody a little bit different? Well, everybody's a little bit different. Yeah, so I want to make sure we get all your questions answered. Of course, today we want to keep them a little bit more general until I know more about your specific situation. Once I get to your specific situation, then we can talk about more specific questions. So why wouldn't I want to answer any specific questions today? Because if everybody's situation is different, my answers would be what, depending on the person? Well, they'd be different. So do you think it makes sense for me to know more about you or less about you before I start answering specific questions? Well, probably more about me. Yeah, so we're going to answer any questions you have, but today they should be general or specific? They should be general. So I can also, you can also say that D is the right answer if early on you got them to agree that they could only ask general questions. But the best way to do is get excited about how great a question is, infer that they're going to become a client, they're going to refer a bunch of people to you just because of that question, and they'll be happier than the dickens if you get off that question. Does that make sense to everybody? Has anybody got questions on that? I mean, some of these are higher level skills, but I want you to see the kind of things that are available to you once you learn the 21-point checklist, and we can get into those higher level skills. How would you like it that anytime somebody asks a question, because here's the problem. What's the problem with answering questions? If you become the shell answer man and answer all their questions at that first meeting, what's the problem with that? Because that's how a lot of advisors are trained. They've got questions. Show how smart you are. Answer their questions for them. Do I ever want to answer any of the questions at the first meeting? No, that's right. Everybody's saying it. They're going to take those answers back to their guy. Do clients like confrontation? No. Do they like hassle? No. And is leaving their current advisor confrontational? They have to tell them they don't trust them anymore, that they're moving their money from them. Is that confrontational? Yes. Is it a hassle? Yes. So they're going to do everything possible not to move from their current guy. So this is a great skill to have, because this way you can't. Do you ever want to say, I don't want to answer that question, we'll get to it later? No, because then you're not answering the question. Anytime you don't answer the question, you lose their trust. Does that make sense? How should you deal with a one-legger, that person that comes in without their spouse? How do you deal with them? In the lobby, you say, hey, no spouse, no meeting. I said that at the seminar. No spouse, no meeting. Sorry, come back with your spouse. Do I say that? Or do I say, at the end of the first meeting, asking them politely to bring their spouse the next time? Or C, kick them out if they don't have much money and go to a second meeting if they have a lot of money? Or C, handle it right after setting the tone? Man, you guys are on fire today. It's D. Yeah, handle it right after setting the tone. We have one-legger scripts, so you on how to handle that. So you guys, man, 100% got that right. Good job, guys. Yappers talk too much. So why do those people that like to yap, talk, and get you off track and go into tangents and go out in the weeds? Why do they do that? Because they're lonely? Because they're self-important cads? Because they have low self-esteem? Or doesn't matter why they do it, they just do? Yeah, because all these three are all right, but the way you handle it, where you let them talk for 2 or 3 minutes, then tell them what a terrific person they are, how smart they are, how interesting they are, how funny they are, does that deal with people who are lonely? Does that make people who are lonely feel better? Yes. Does it make people who are self-important cads feel more important? Yes. Does it make people with low self-esteem feel better? Yes. So does it really matter why, as long as you do it the right way? Let them talk for 2 or 3 minutes and then tell them how smart, how interesting, or how funny they are. So it works for the same way you handle it works the same for any of these three, so it really doesn't matter. So good job. Everybody got that right, 100% right. You guys are doing great this morning. At the first meeting, a client tells you that he thinks the stock market is going to go up. You should acknowledge the comment and move on. Acknowledge, pair it back in the form of a question and get on their side. Box him in the ears and call him stupid, or prove to him that he's stupid. You guys are on fire again. It's B. Say, absolutely. The market is going to go up, isn't it? See how I use the form of a question? The market is going to go up, isn't it? Yes. See, by doing that, you're saying what? You're going to fight them, or you're on their side? It's a form of God's getting on their side. Good job, guys. When doing the loyal, again, you've only heard this. Many of you have only heard this one time here a few weeks ago. So don't expect you to be perfect on this. But when doing the loyalty versus unconditional love script, you should A, make sure they understand that they would divorce their wife if she was disloyal. B, tell them complete loyalty is an absolute necessity. C, have them laughing about the complete absurdity of unconditional love for their broker. Or D, have them defending the broker because he's never been disloyal. Which one? Everybody's getting it right. E, have them laughing about the complete absurdity of unconditional love for the broker. Does anybody unconditionally love we unconditionally love our kids, but does anybody unconditionally love their broker? If they find out their broker is screwing them, how many people, remember, I moved 2 people who their sons were their brokers. They have unconditional love for their son, but did they have unconditional love for their son as their broker? No. They said, I love my son, but he ain't taking care of my money. Does that make sense? When locking down where they're going to go to make their changes, so who are you going to take this? You can take this information back to your current advisor. You're going to do it with me. Who are you going to do it with? When locking them down, again, this is high-level advanced sales training or advanced first meeting script. So I don't expect you all to get this because it's fairly new to many of you. But See how many of you remember when we talked about the more advanced first meeting. When locking down where they're going to go to make their changes, you should make sure that they know it would be completely unfair to you if they took their answer to their broker, or B, have them tell you it would be unfair to you to take their information to the broker, or C, tell them they should do the right thing, or C, have them tell you why it'd be unfair to themselves if they took the information back to the broker. Which one? You got it. D, have them tell themselves it'd be unfair to themselves, because if they take it back to their broker, they're always going to be that seed of distrust that he's doing the right thing. So if things change and they call up the broker and start second guessing the broker constantly, what's the broker going to do? Be happy that they're being second guessed? I mean, put yourself in that broker's shoes. If your client is constantly calling you and double checking what you're doing, double checking if you're doing the right thing, questioning every move you make, is that a great client or a client you want to get rid of? Nobody likes that client. So you may get then defensive with them, and then the client's thinking, well, why are you getting defensive with me? The only reason I'm defensive is because I caught you doing something wrong a year ago. Of course I'm going to double check on you. And then, it turns into what? A death spiral of a relationship. So you all got that right. D, very good. You guys are great today. When setting the tone and sharing how you're compensated, tell them they'll never have to pay you. Make sure they know that people pay you for advice in various ways. C, tell them that the companies pay you out of their pocket and you never have to write your checks. Or D, make sure they do not have any clue how it is that you get paid. Now, this is, again, we just talked about this, so let's see if everybody can get this one right. We should have 100%. Everybody is getting it right. B, make sure that people pay you in various ways, which could be by fee, it could be pro bono, it could be by commission. The primary leverage you have with a do-it-yourselfer is A, your Spock-like ability to analyze data and draw the right conclusion. B, you've got something he wants. C, his own fear of his own inadequacies. Or D, their spouse. Yep, it's their spouse, it's their spouse, it's their spouse. The goal script should, so the goal script, we go through the 6 different things, the 25% more income, less chance of running out of money, they don't even need to move any of their investments, or paid 70% less taxes on their qualified money, get down to the 1% tax bracket with their non-qualified money, make sure your spouse is covered or does not lose your income when you die and Social Security cuts off the check, long-term care without expensive annual premiums. So that script we do at the first meeting, it should not be done if they say they hate their broker right out of the gate. B, be done only when you've mastered it. C, scare the advisor silly. Or B, be done every single time. Yeah, it should be done every single time. Because that gives them how many reasons they want to come back to you? Many. When setting the tone, we ask for what favor? Again, this is the script you covered a couple weeks ago, so it's a high-level script, so I don't expect you all to get this right, but you've been doing a fantastic job, so you probably will all. When setting the tone, we ask for what favor? That they please work with us, that they ask no questions, that they please shut up so we can get to work, get a word in edgewise, or that they give us their feedback. Man, you guys are awesome. That they give it's a little secret close at the end where we say, hey, would you mind giving me your feedback? Or do you mind giving me feedback? Why did you think so many, it's not the little secret close, I'm sorry, it's the one, it's right up front where we say, why do you think so many people work with us? It gets them to tell us that we are an expert. We don't tell them we're an expert, they tell us why they're an expert, why we're an expert. You guys are great today. Getting on their side about long-term care insurance would include which of the following? I've heard many times that LTC insurance is too expensive. Many people are not aware of the needs for long-term care. Long-term care insurance is full of problems. Long-term care insurance can be expensive. Which one of those? It's really all of those, but it can be, C is saying yes to A, yes to B, yes to D. So just saying there's lots of code, but any of these answers would be correct. C is the one that entails all of them. The one question to never ask Mike is, so if you ever call me and you have a question, if you ever call me and you have a question, what's the one question you should never ask me? Mike, why are you such an a-hole? B, who put a bee in your bonnet and why are you getting upset with me? D, did you get Did you get up on the wrong side of the bed? Or C, should I feed or not feed at an event? Many of you guys gave me smart-ass answers. Why are many of you are saying, why are you such an a-hole? But we're getting some serious answer. Should I feed or and the correct answer is, should I feed or not feed at the event? Why did that upset me? Did I care? Would I care if I went to an event that was paying, and I would never, ever, 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 ever do this, but if somebody said, I'll set up an event at a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse where people are going to have steak dinner, and I'm going to fill the room with 100 people, would I have a problem with that? No. Why would I not have a problem with that? What's the system designed to do? Only get people that are, is our system designed to get tire kickers? Is our system designed to get plate lickers? Well, if they're coming to a Ruth Chris house to take dinner, what are they? They are plate lickers. Would I be happy to get in front of 100 plate lickers? Hell yeah. Now, I think that's stupid, though, because people that will come to a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse will also go to an Applebee's dinner. I'm sorry, but there would be slightly more people in there that would not want, that are certainly qualified. So I could care less. Now, there is one other question that's not on here that annoys the heck out of me. So I've given, how complete is our scripts? How complete is our scripts about what to do at a 21-point checklist or what to say at a FIA? Vague or very, very specific? They're very specific, and they've worked for 25 years. For me, 23 years for advisors. Every single time they work. We've got 60,000 plus tapes, and we quit. We'd have way more if we even save tapes anymore. We don't even save them anymore. So the other question that drives me bananas is, Mike, what if they say this? I mean, Mike, you said they're going to say this in the script, but what if they say this instead? What do I say? I say, well, here's the thing. If they do, Missy will hear a clunk in my office because I fainted. She'll run in with the smelling salts. She'll wake me back up, and I guess then we'll deal with it. So send me the tape of them saying that. Send me the tape when that happens, and guess what we'll do? We'll fix it. But it ain't going to happen. So why do you think I get upset when somebody says, Mike, what if they say this? I'll say, dude, when they do, send me the tape, and then I'll believe it. But after 25 years, do I know what the client's going to say? See, that's the thing. I will tell you that I am a fortune teller because 25 years ago, I predicted what your clients would say today. And the funny thing is, guess what? They still say it today. So that's the other thing. Don't say, if they say this, what should I do? Well, do it right is what I would recommend. Because if you do it right, they ain't going to say that. Make sense? The biggest reason advisors have trouble with yappers is, A, the advisor can't get a word in edgewise. B, the advisor doesn't want to be rude. C, the advisor gets exhausted listening to the yapper. Or D, the advisor can't shut up. Which one? Boy, you guys, I'm getting mostly right answers, a few wrong answers. It's D. Because what I find is when the client is yapping and tells a story, guess what the advisor does? They want to up the story and tell them their story. Or when the people are telling a story, instead of letting them talk and then interrupting them, telling them that they're above average, that they're interesting, that they're funny, and then saying, by the way, instead they say, really? Tell me more. Or really, that must have really bothered you. Or wow, that really happened? Oh, what'd you do then? They start to feed fuel to the fire. So they either want to tell their own story or they keep yapping back. That's right, John says. They keep yapping back. Don't do that. Let the people talk. Let them scratch that itch. And then when they take a breath, jump in, tell them that they're above average, that they're funny, they're interesting, they're smart, and say, by the way, that reminds me of, and you move back into where you're supposed to be. When setting the tone, the reason you give to ask the question, would it be okay if I record this meeting, is A, that you're curious, B, that you want to record because to be able to use it as testimonial, or you want to record because it's hopefully they share with how great you are, or D, because you want to make sure they don't miss anything important. Which one? Yeah, everybody's getting it, D. You should always speed up the pace of your conversation when you have to go to the bathroom, B, when you don't like the person and want to get them out of your office, C, when you want to change the subject, or D, when you have a lot of information to cover. Everybody's saying D. No, 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 no. If you're going fast because you have a lot of information to recover, okay, now I'm getting the right answer. If you're going fast, because the right answer is C, you want to change the subject. Because what happens is when you talk faster, people listen more carefully, and what you do is you slow down, and then you speed up. This is a high level skill, so it would take 20 minutes for you to go through how to do that. But and we can do that at some point in the future if you want to do that. But there's a technique that we use where we slow down, and all of a sudden we speed up. We take a left turn and speed up. So when you slow down, and all of a sudden you speed up, guess what happens? People, they want to listen to you more carefully. So and can people remember? Have you ever had a situation where you're like somebody's talking, you're like, oh shoot, that brings up, I want to ask them something. In your head, you're saying, oh shoot, when they're done talking, I want to ask them something. And then 30 seconds later, they're done talking, and what happens? Does it ever happen where you forgot what you wanted to ask in the first place? 30 seconds later, it was this burning question that you wanted to comment, question, whatever, that you wanted to bring up. 30 seconds later or 15 seconds later, they get done speaking, and you're like, crap, what did I want to say? That's happened to all of us, right? And that's what we're doing here, is you talk slow, and then when you speed up and change the subject, they forget what they were talking about, what you were talking about in the first place, and are on to what you were talking about very, very quickly. Does that make sense? So, I had a lot of people say answer D. When you have a lot of information to cover, no, you never want to do that. And I see this quite often at a seminar where at the end, people will start to speed up. Or at the end of a 21-point checklist, they start to speed up. Guys, when you start to speed up, what are you telegraphing to the client, the audience or the client? That this is important stuff or not important stuff? And when you speed up, what is everybody starting to do mentally? Paying more attention or checking out? So, I guess we're winding this up. I guess he's trying to finish up here. I guess we're getting near the end of the meeting. Is that what you wanted to be thinking at the end? The end is the climax. So you need to be going slower, not faster at the end. If you need to reschedule, if it's a meeting and you need to reschedule, then reschedule. Don't go faster. If I'm running out of time at a seminar, what will I do? Skip a bunch of slides and get to the close. Do I want to be ending my meeting like going super fast? Never. I don't care if it's a one-on-one meeting or a seminar. You don't want to be going fast, because what it does is it discounts everything you're saying, and it gets the people to mentally. Guys, have you ever seen it where at the end of remember your teacher, when they're talking really fast at the end of a class, what's everybody doing? Paying attention or packing their books into their bag? What's everybody doing? If you're at a seminar and you're talking really fast at the end, are they listening to you, or are they searching for their keys and start putting their folders together so they can leave? Everybody's packing up, whether it's physically packing up or mentally packing up. That's right, Steve. They've mentally checked out. You do not talk fast because you have a lot of information to cover. Instead, skip information so you can keep it slower. Make sense? So it's the only time we want to speed up is when we want to change the subject, because then they'll forget what we were talking about before. The primary reason we ask the 6-goal question at the first meeting is, A, to get them used to asking a lot of questions throughout this process. B, get them to commit to moving forward in the process. C, because Mike says you have to. Or D, to lock down 2 primary principles of influence. That's right, to get them to move forward. Say, wow, I need to know those things. I need to know how to do those. I want, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being I don't care, 5 being tell me those things. I need to know those things. I want these things are all 5s, so I better go through the process. I better give him the information he wants because I want this information. Which of the following is not a Cialdini principle of influence? Scarcity, consensus, commitment, or alcohol? D isn't. Scarcity. We all know how to use scarcity, right? Well, scarcity is what? Offer ends Friday. That's an example of scarcity. Consensus is, we just talked about this last week, which is social proof. Commitment. If they say it out loud, they're likely to follow through. So these are all, except for this one, principles. There's actually 6 principles. These are 3 of them. You should spend how much time gathering information? As long as it takes to get the full picture of where, at the first meeting, how long should you take in gathering information? As long as it takes to get the full picture of what they have, 5 to 10 minutes. You can never have too much information. D, gather it until you find the hook that's going to allow them to you to sell them. Which one? Getting a lot of wrong answers, very few right answers. Right answer is this. Guys, are we worried? Let's talk about D. Any hook we find is worth what? If we find out that they don't like paying taxes, if we find out that they don't like paying fees, if we find out their advisor does not call them enough, if we find out what can their advisor fix too much in taxes? Can their advisor fix too much in fees? Can their advisor fix not covering them enough? Their advisor can fix everything. The only thing what's the only thing their advisor cannot fix? Is if they don't trust the guy. Can we do that in the first meeting? Can we break the trust at the first meeting? No, we can't. We have to do that at a 21-point checklist. So at the first meeting, how long does it really take to gather that information? How long does it really take to grab their statements and to ask the things that we need to ask on the data gathering form? 5 to 10 minutes. And instead, if you're taking too long, guess what you're probably doing? You're selling them. You're telling them, you're trying to show them how smart you are. You're trying to tell them that what they have is bad. You're trying to schmooze or develop rapport with them. Not good rapport, bad rapport. Oh, you fish, I fish. Oh, you have a kid at the U of M, I have a kid at the U of M. If any of those things are good things or bad things at the first meeting. If you're at a doctor's office and your ass is hanging out of a gown, how long do you want to be in that office? And that's how they feel at this meeting. How long you're at the office to get what? Fixed. Do you want to be having that conversation about your kid going to the U of M when you're half naked in front of them? Do you want to be doing any of those things when you're half naked? No. You want what? Take the tests and call me back when I'm fully clothed and we can meet in your office. That's what you want. That's what they want. If they ask you about, if they say, oh, my guy never contacts me, and you're like, oh, that's too bad, because you know what, we contact our clients every 4 months, and we have a newsletter, and I find it very, very valuable that you have that great connection with your clients. Is that a good answer or a bad answer? If they say their advisor never contacts them, is that a good thing to do or not a bad thing to do that I just did right there? Nobody's answering. You're scratching your heads. Tom's got it right. Bad. It is a bad thing. Because when I do that, what do I sound like? Sound like a salesman. Do I want to sound like a salesman at the first meeting? No. So I gather the information. I don't give them any feedback on anything they tell me. Oh, I don't like this VA. My guy never meets with me. I don't think this has been performing very well. Do we give them any feedback on that, or say, oh, that's interesting? Well, I guess we'll take a look at that. Or you're very non-committal. You're very non-committal. It should take 5 to 10 minutes. Which of the following is not one of the 3 items that must be done at the first meeting? Find the pain, which allows us to sell them later. Remember, is not one of the 3 things. Take a look at their statements to briefly collect data. If they didn't bring their statements in, get them to commit to doing so before a 21-point checklist can be prepared. Or D, schedule the next appointment before they leave the office. Which one? Yeah, everybody's got it. A. We don't find the pain. The pain is going to come. The pain has nothing to do with hot buttons, because there's only one hot button we work with, and that is their guy is taking advantage of them, and that cannot be done until the second meeting of the 20-point checklist. The most stressful part of the first meeting should be getting the commitment, overcoming an objection, asking the 6 goals questions, or listening to it on tape. What's the most stressful? Yeah, everybody's getting D. Should be D, because are we asking? So if you do it the normal, if you do it the simple way that we've taught you, there is no commitment at the first meeting. If you do it the advanced way we showed you last week, there is no commitment either. We're just giving a little secret clause. Should we be getting any objections at the first meeting? The only thing that can cause an objection is what? If you try to what? Give your opinion. Should you be giving your opinions or trying to close them at the first meeting? That's the only time you're going to have an objection. So that listening to it on tape should be the only thing to stress at the first meeting. Why do you record the meeting? Because you're glutton for punishment and love to have Mike review it with you. B, you need it as proof of commitment of whether the client stiffs you at the third meeting. C, you can listen to it and find the prospect's hot button to assure you can sell it hard, or as a training tool. That's a training tool. That's why you're recording. The only reason not to record a meeting is A, you're not good enough yet. B, you don't know how to use your recorder yet. C, there's no good reason not to record a meeting. You can learn from every tape. Or D, you don't have a recorder yet. C, guys, record your meetings. If you want to know how to make $1 million, or you want to know how to double your income with working not a minute more than you're working right now, record your meetings, because you get better every time. You start fixing all sorts of mistakes that you didn't know you're making. Which of the following is a reason not to work with a do-yourselfer? Which of the following is a reason not to work with a do-yourselfer? He's single. He tells you he does all his own investing. He's been doing it by himself for years. He tells you that this is a great system, that he has a great system that's going to beat the market for sure. Which is the reason not to work? Oh, you guys are smart. Yeah, if he's single. If he's single, I have no leverage, because we said with a do-yourselfer, what's the leverage with a do-yourselfer? The spouse. If he has no spouse, we have what? No leverage. But if he's a do-yourselfer and does all his investing, we go after the bonds, because how many people who do their own investing know anything about bonds? How many people that do their investing know anything about bonds? None of them. None of them do. Because bonds are boring. Stocks are sexy. How many of them do we care if they've been doing it for again? It doesn't. If we go after the bond portfolio with a do-it-yourselfer, because they know nothing about bonds. So even if he does his own investing, he's doing his own investing with stocks. Even if he's been doing it for years, he's been doing it only for years with stocks. Even if he tells you he has a great system, they're going to be the market. He's talking about the stock market, not the bond market. So this is the only reason we wouldn't go forward with a do-yourselfer. Which of the following is not a reason to ask if you can take notes? It changes the subject. It alleviates the concern as to why you're taking notes. It is another way to defer to them without losing control of the meeting, or you want to show them how good a writer you are. D. These are all reasons why we ask if we can take notes or record the meeting. The primary reason that first meeting should be done in 1 hour is your calendar is broken into 1 hour increments. B, so you can have more meetings. C, it's just some rule Mike came up with. Or D, it keeps you on task and makes you look professional and helps prevent mistakes. It's D. Yep. Good job, guys. So we won't do this very often, but it's just kind of a fun thing to do on an occasional basis to kind of prime the pump and see how much knowledge you have. Yeah, we'll probably maybe do this once a quarter. This is mostly on the first meeting. We'll probably have the next little quiz here on the 21-point checklist sometime in the future. Would that be an okay thing to do? Awesome, possum. You guys have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you all next Monday. See you guys.